part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, it's Adam the Bull, and I am back. And it's time for the latest edition of Up Next with me, Adam the Bull, my TV show podcast. We've had a lot of guests on the show, a lot of top 5 lists, but things have been crazy this summer. There's not been as much product on TV in terms of what I've been watching because the strike has slowed some things down. The writers on strike, the actors on strike. I am totally pro-union, by the way. I support the actors and I support the writers, and hopefully the studios will do the right thing here and find a way to settle these disputes. But because of that, we've been on a little less often, and until things are settled, we're going to go once a month here. But I do have a few things I wanted to hit on, some really interesting shows that I've been watching. We'll do the kids report where I bring on my son, Aaron. We'll talk about Ahsoka, which is the latest Disney show in the Star Wars universe. Most of the Disney stuff that we talk about is either in the Star Wars universe or in the Marvel universe. This one is, of course, in the Star Wars universe, and that's Ahsoka. We'll talk about that, starring Rosario Dawson, coming up with the kids report later. Plus, Aaron's got a show that he's watching, a kids show that he's watching that he wants to recommend to all the fellow kids out there who may be listening, or maybe the son or daughter of people who are. So let's jump right into it right here, including the latest Walking Dead TV show. This is Up Next with Adam the Bull. So I mentioned that the latest Walking Dead show is out. I'm a big Walking Dead guy. Sounds weird, right? Big Walking Dead guy. And when you look at the universe that's becoming the thing, right? When you look at the universe that is Walking Dead, I have a whole spreadsheet for all the different Walking Dead things, right? The original Walking Dead finally came to an end. Was it last year or this year? No, I can't remember. I think it was last year. Might have been early this year. No, I can't remember. 11 seasons. I watched them all. I watched every episode. Fear the Walking Dead, which was the first spinoff of The Walking Dead. For those who are big fans, we're currently in the 8th and final season of Fear the Walking. I'm sorry, the 7th and final season of Fear the Walking Dead. The final 8 episodes are coming out later this year, and I've watched every episode of that show. We've also had some others sprinkled in. Tales of the Walking Dead. It was an anthology, 1 season there, only one character that you would have recognized if you're a big Walking Dead person. I won't spoil it if you haven't watched it. The only Walking Dead venue I haven't watched is The Walking Dead World Beyond, which I shouldn't say I haven't watched it. I thought it was so bad that I just couldn't make it through. I may at some point just to say I've watched everything, but that's the only one in the catalog that I have not watched. It takes place years later, I believe in Seattle or somewhere in the Northwest. But that's the only thing I haven't watched. The latest that have come out, there's a few spinoffs coming out off of the original Walking Dead. During the summer, we had Walking Dead Dead City, which gave you the continued story of Negan and Maggie. It was very good. A lot of action. It was interesting to see the Walking Dead universe in New York for the first time, New York City. It was a good show. And so I would advise checking that out. And then coming up next year, there'll be the Walking Dead Rick and Michonne. For those who are big Walking Dead fans, you know that Rick was missing, presumed dead for many years. We, as the viewers, all knew that there was a chance he was still alive. And in the final episode ever of Walking Dead, spoiler here, but if you're that big a fan, you probably watched it already. You did see Rick and you did see Michonne for the first time. And Rick a very long time, and even Michonne, it had been a long time since we've seen either of them. And there was the final scene where you saw them both. And there's a Walking Dead spinoff with the two of them that I can't wait to see next year. But the latest spinoff that's just come out this past weekend was The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon. Now, I won't do any spoilers from that because the first episode just came out. If you have AMC Plus, it was out Friday. If you're just using regular AMC over the air, then it came out Sunday. But I'll say this without giving any spoilers on this. It was good to see Daryl again. He does look older. Not a surprise, but I don't know. He really looked grizzled, if you will. I guess he always looks grizzled, but he looked kind of a new level of grizzled. But what I'll say about it is I thought the first episode was excellent. I thought it was one of the best episodes of any Walking Dead show in a long time. I just thought it was really done, and I've got extremely high hopes for this particular show. I think they took a lot of care with the writing and the storyline, which sometimes has gotten lax in recent years in the Walking Dead universe. So anyway, again, it's only one episode so far, but 2 thumbs up for the Walking Dead Daryl Dixon. I mentioned that Ahsoka is the latest Star Wars thing out. I will get to that. We'll get to that later. The latest, in terms of Marvel, Secret Invasion was out over the summer. I think last time we did the podcast, I know, we talked about that a little bit in the kids report. That was very good. The second season of Loki, the original season of Loki was out a few years ago, but the second season of Loki is coming out on October the 6th. So by the time I rejoin you mid-October, we'll have a review of at least one episode, maybe 2, of the new season of Loki. I'm certainly looking forward to that. Secret Invasion, which was over the summer, was solid, not spectacular, but solid. Aaron liked it a lot more than I did. A couple other things that I wanted to hit on, and then we'll get to some fan questions that of things I've been watching, because like I said, it's been kind of a slow summer and there hasn't been a ton to talk about, but there are some interesting things and interesting shows going on right now. Number 2 shows that have their second seasons going on that I just got into in the last month. One on Apple TV called Invasion. The other is on Netflix called The Lincoln Lawyer. Now, let me start with The Lincoln Lawyer. The Lincoln Lawyer is based on a series of novels by an author named Michael Connelly. Michael Connelly is written. I'm looking off. Well, you can't see me because this is only an audio podcast, but I am looking off to my right because I have every Michael Connelly book on my bookshelf to my right. He's written about 40 books, I'd say, give or take. Now, Michael Connelly, almost everything he's written about has become either a television show or a movie. Some of you may not know this. So if you look at Michael Connelly's books, and I'm just going to bring up the whole thing, he has 4 main characters, but 2 that he's written about the most. One is the Lincoln Lawyer, guy named Mickey Haller, who is a defense attorney in L.A. The other character's name is Bosch, Hieronymus Bosch. He is for most of the series, has been a detective in the LAPD, but he eventually becomes a private detective and retires or is kind of kicked out. There's been 8 seasons of 2 different Bosch TV shows on Amazon Prime that are really well done. Love the Bosch TV show. And Titus Welliver plays the lead character, Harry Bosch, in that one. But also, in addition to Harry Bosch and the Lincoln Lawyer, he also has written some books when he first started, right? And Michael Connelly's been around since the early, he's been around writing books for 30 years. He also had another character, and I'm drawing a blank on the name of the other, Jack McAvoy, okay? And there's a couple of books with him, and there was a movie made, and I wasn't going to talk about it because it's really, we're obviously about TV, but I'm trying to remember the name of the movie. Anyway, another one of his books was made into a movie with the Jack McAvoy character, and the Bosch, so that was great. And the Bosch series was great. So when Lincoln Lawyer came out on Netflix, I was like, okay, this is going to be great. Everything else I love his books. I love the character. They had made a Lincoln Lawyer movie with Matthew McConaughey, which was pretty good. So I was like, okay, this is going to be great. I'm into it. And I started the first episode and I was like, this is really cheesy. It didn't strike me right away. And I stopped watching it like 10 minutes into the first episode, because how I am with a lot of TV shows, I as you know, I watch so many shows that I start it, and if it doesn't grab me, I go away. And if enough people tell me to go watch it again, or somebody I trust. So my buddy, for those of you who know me from the sports world, my buddy Dustin Fox, who was my radio partner for many years, he doesn't watch a lot of TV, but he once in a while he watches the show, and he's recommended 2 things to me, and I've liked it. He and I don't have the same taste in everything, but a lot of times we like the same shows, even though he doesn't watch a lot. And he was like, "Have you watched The Lincoln Lawyer?" It was great. So I was like, "All right, let me give it another shot," because he recommended a couple other things in the past, and I was with him. And now I got hooked the second time around. Yes, it's a little cheesy, but the more I think about it, so is the Bosch. It's cheesy in the same way that Bosch is. As long as the cheese doesn't pass the drama, the action, or in case of another show I'll get to in a minute, the comedy, then it's fine. And it doesn't. And now I'm the second season was released recently. I've watched a couple episodes of the second season. I haven't gotten through that yet, but it has really grabbed me. In terms of Invasion, that was another show on Apple TV that I started, didn't get into right away, and then it really grew on me. It really grew on me because I liked. So Invasion is about whatever, aliens coming from to take over the earth, if you will, without giving away too much. They just the second season is out right now. I've watched. I think I'm caught up through last Wednesday's latest episode. So it'll be a new episode this week. But I love the way, once I gave it a second chance, the way they bounced from a lot of different perspectives. So there's an Indian couple with kids that live in New York City. There's two young British kids, one that has maybe some special insight into this invasion or whatever, in England. There's a military man who is black, and he is in Afghanistan. There is like a country white dude in Oklahoma. There is a Japanese woman in Japan who is part of the whatever they call NASA in Japan. And so I thought I liked the diversity of characters and storylines. It felt like they were filming in these different countries. I don't know that they actually were, but just the fact that it felt that way, I think was good. And it made me feel that way. So I am really enjoying the show. I'm hook, line, and sinker into that show right away. Now, one show that I have soured on, and I know my man Chase, who runs Press Play Pods, is a big fan of this show, but I have soured on Only Murders in the Building, and I'm gonna have to have Chase do an episode of Up Next where he talks about it because he's into it. I talk about like the cheese factor not passing the action. Like once the cheese goes past the other, then it's a problem. And that's what's happened in the third season of Only Murders in the Building. The first two seasons were very cheesy, but also very funny. And Steve Martin, in my opinion, and I love Steve Martin, I think he's become unbearable on this show in the third season. Every time he's on screen, I'm annoyed. He's not funny. He's so obnoxious. I know his character is supposed to be obnoxious. And they've lost me. And what's amazing is Paul Rudd's on it this year, who I love. But it's just not doing it for me. So I am out on Only Murders in the Building. One other show I wanted to hit on, and then we're going to do the kids report, and then we'll do the fan questions. Winning Time, the second season of Winning Time, the story of the Lakers. It's a great show. I'm a couple of weeks behind on season 2, but man, is this show so well done. The cast is fantastic. You just gotta love that. Obviously, not everything is accurate, but this is Hollywood. It's not a documentary. I don't know why people get worked up about it. John C. Reilly is absolutely magnificent as Jerry Buss. Aidan Brody, great as Pat Riley. Across the board, like the guy who plays Magic Johnson, his name's Quincy Isaiah. I never heard of him before. I don't know what he was in, but he is so, it feels like I'm watching Michael Jordan. Solomon Hughes plays Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's great in that role. I love Jason Segel as Paul Westhead. And just across the board, like all the people they got these playing these different, it's very well acted. But in particular, John C. Reilly as Jerry Buss and Quincy Isaiah's Magic. Those two, all the performances are great, but those two really stand out above them all. And I can't wait to watch the rest of the season. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. One other thing real quick before I take a break. shows coming out in the next couple of weeks. By the way, I mentioned Fear the Walking Dead, the final 8 episodes. October 22nd is when that comes back. 2 other shows I'm looking forward to watching, getting started, that are happening before the end of this month. The 4th and final season of Sex Education on Netflix. If you have not watched this show, I don't know what you're doing. This is one of the best shows on TV. There's really nobody super famous on there. It's mostly British actors, young actors. They are amazing. There is no bad person on the show. It's funny. It's touching. It's emotional. It's everything. And I can't wait till the 4th and final season. I'm glad they're ending it. You don't want to push this too far. It might even be too far pushing it to 4, but I'm looking forward to this. And finally, I'm going to actually have to pay for Peacock for a month. I don't have Peacock. It's really the only streaming service I don't have. There's nothing good on there. So I'm a little nervous. However, September 22nd, 10 days from now, the premiere of the show, The Continental. If you are a fan of the John Wick movies, which I am, my son and I love the John Wick movies. This is a prequel to the John Wick movies. The hotel in the John Wick movies is the Continental. This is a prequel. I'm nervous because it's on Peacock, and I have not liked anything on Peacock. But anyway, there you go. All right, when we come back, we're going to do the Kids Report, and then we'll wrap it up with fan questions. That's up next on Up Next with Adam the Bull.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month, and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us, and then listen in.
Welcome everyone to Podcast 616, the official podcast of Earth 616. I am your host, Damon Royster, and I am inviting you to listen and subscribe to this Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. On Podcast 616, we gather some of today's greatest comedians, writers, and actors to dive deep into all things Marvel, like comic book history and lore, all the interconnected superhero storylines, and of course, who's hot and who's not in the MCU. Honestly, why aren't you listening right now? You have the power to listen to Podcast 616. And as we always say, with great power comes even greater responsibility. Listen and subscribe to Podcast 616 wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, welcome back. It's Up Next with Adam the Bull, and up next on the show, it's time for the Kids Report, where I bring in my kid, Aaron the Calf, or Aaron the Little Bull, or Baby Bull. He goes by many a nickname, and he's wearing his Marvel-themed shirt today.
Baby
I am Groot. Baby Groot. Hi, buddy. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Did you finish your homework?
Yes, I did.
Okay, very good. So now it's an appropriate time to talk about television shows. I've been teasing that we're going to talk about Ahsoka, which is the latest TV show in the Star Wars family. We are, 4 episodes in, I believe, to the first season of Ahsoka? Or
No. 4.
4. 5th episode will be on tomorrow, based on the day we are recording this. So overall, through 4 episodes, what do you think? What's your grade for Ahsoka through 4 episodes?
Well, so far, I've thought it was really good, but something I don't like is that after Ahsoka killed, what's her name? What's his name?
Whoever. Spoilers here, huh?
It's too bad. Spoiler alert. If you get spoils, too bad. Deal with it.
Oh,
now,
man. That's harsh, Aaron.
Yeah, I know. I meant it to be.
Oh, wow. Chip off the old block.
So after the Sith dude gets killed with the double lightsaber,
yeah.
Ahsoka, I'm like, who is it? Is it a man, a woman? Is it some random dude we knew? Is it the son of Darth Revan, who neither of you have probably heard of?
Maybe Michael's heard of him. Are you a big Star Wars guy, Michael? I can't remember. No, he's not. So yeah, we've never heard of him. Yeah. So I don't know who that is. Who is that?
He's a Sith from before Clone Wars era, blah, blah, blah.
So my problem with this show, to your point, is if you're not a Star Wars aficionado, like I've watched all the Star Wars movies and the TV shows, but I haven't watched any of the animated stuff. And to have some backstory in some of these characters, you really have had to have watched some of these animated things, and a lot of people have not, and they really haven't filled in the backstory. I think that's a bad job by them. You don't agree?
Well, I guess they just assumed that it would be interesting if you didn't know what was going on. Maybe.
All right.
But
if you say so.
Since I know mostly what's going on,
yeah,
interesting to me. But I would see, I don't get why, but I agree with you. They shouldn't have just thrown you in there with no description. Intel.
Okay, yeah. So you were saying that you were disappointed that when that character gets killed and they make it seem like maybe it's somebody that's important that you really don't know. They don't reveal who it was.
Yeah, and I feel like it might have just been a droid, and I hope not. Because if it was, then it'd be like, what's the point of having the mask?
Right. Why did they tease you into believing it was somebody that might be interesting to see?
Yeah.
Now, an interesting development at the end. This is a big time spoiler if you didn't see last week's episode. So if you have not seen the 4th episode of Ahsoka, you may want to close your ears for a couple of seconds. But what's fascinating at the end of the 4th episode is the appearance of
who?
Oh my gosh. You forgot who was in that last moment of the show?
Oh, Anakin.
Anakin Skywalker.
Spoiler.
Who's played by a different actor now, of course, but
yeah, so they make him look young, and I really like that.
You like that when they had Anakin, but Anakin becomes Darth Vader, and Darth Vader's dead at this point, right?
Yeah. Yes, he's dead.
So how is this happening? How do we explain this?
Well, they're probably in some sort of spiritual world that has to do with some sort of comic thing that nobody knows.
Okay.
And nobody's read the comics, so. Except for my 2nd grade teacher who's read everything Star Wars.
But wait a second. Do you like it? I mean, is this kind of like when Obi-Wan Kenobi comes back to visit Luke?
As a ghost?
Yeah, kind of ghost.
Yeah,
or
it's kind of like that.
Spirit world, or
is he a ghost?
I don't know.
Just like a monkey.
A monkey?
No, it was the first word that popped into my head.
Okay. He's not a monkey, but he could be. He's a monkey. Is he a lion?
Maybe he's
Is he an elephant? Maybe he's Bob Ross. I don't know. That's very random. But
or maybe he's Nick Chubb.
Maybe he's Nick Chubb.
He's probably not as good as him.
No, that would be good if Nick Chubb showed up. He'd probably be able to help fight the battle. Nick Chubb's pretty tough. So what do you think he is? The Anakin? You think he's a spirit? You think he's a ghost?
Probably some sort of spiritish thing.
They're not going to try to pretend he's alive, are they?
I feel like that would be cool, but it wouldn't work.
No, doesn't make sense on the timeline, unless it was some sort of time travel type of thing. But that's more Avengers than Star Wars. That really doesn't happen on Star Wars.
More
Marvel than Star Wars. Okay, so
I feel like Star Wars is like medieval crosses over with the future.
Yeah, kind of like Game of Thrones meets, I don't know, not coming to me. Anyway, so we talked about not having the backstory if you didn't watch the animated shows, but you've recently started watching one of the Star Wars animated shows, correct?
Well, not recently. The first season came out while I was still in 2nd grade, and soon after the school year ended, I watched it.
Yeah.
And it's called
Well, you didn't say the name of the show. Okay, go ahead.
The Bad Batch. And it's really good.
Yeah.
It takes place like towards the end of Clone Wars, I believe. I'm not sure. It might be mid. But there are a group of clones that come out slightly different from the rest. And one of them isn't bald and has long hair instead.
Mm-hmm.
One's part droid. One's really smart and has a British accent instead of Australian. Hey, real quick, do you think the clones are all voiced by the same actor?
I have no idea.
I feel like that. How would they do that?
I don't think so. You think they are?
They have the exact same voice.
Yeah, maybe you're right. All right, let's wrap it. So the Bad Batch is a thumbs up.
Yes, and
Okay.
it's very interesting. It's like Clone Wars, but better.
Okay.
And fewer lightsabers.
Final thing, a Loki comes out in about 3.5 weeks.
Yes,
How
indeed.
excited are you about that?
Very, 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 very,
Season
very,
2.
very, 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 very.
Very excited. Okay, more on that coming up next month. Aaron, good to see you as always.
Also,
Yeah.
warning: there is now a season 2 of I Am Groot, so watch it.
Yeah, the first season was weird. It's kind of like little
It's kind
shorts.
of boring, but it's kind
Yeah.
of funny.
Okay. Did you watch it already?
No,
I Am Groot. Oh, it
No,
hasn't
of
come
course
out yet?
I wanted to say blah, 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 blah.
With me.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. All right, buddy. That's the kids report. I'll see you later.
All right, bye. Thank you.
Bye. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, I'll answer some fan questions and wrap things up. That's next, up next, with Adam the Bull. All right, welcome back. It's time for the final segment of the show. No top 5 list this month. It'll be back with us next month. But for today, I do have fan questions that I wanted to answer. So let's get to it. First question from my man, Eddie. Eddie's actually got 2 questions here. Number 1, do you think the success of The Last of Us will lead to more video game TV adaptations, or will the poor history still cause companies to pause on doing them? I don't know. The future of TV is in a little bit of a shaky place right now. And this is based on what Eddie's second question was. Will TV shows returning in the fall and the lack of content force the studios to settle the strike? We're in a tenuous place. This is a very long strike that's been going on between writers and the studios and actors in the studios. We may say, well, what are these top actors? That's not what this is about. This is about the 90% of actors and writers who are rank and file people who are not making the crazy money that the others are making. And it's important for everybody to stand together. I am a pro-union guy. I've always been a pro-union guy. I'm for the worker, not for the owner. And so I support the unions. No matter how much we may perceive them as having a lot of money or being rich. I don't think that's the case for most of the members in this union. So I don't know what the future holds. Like, TV was in the highest of places the last few years. And between COVID and now these strikes, it's really done some damage. And then just everything going on with cable and cord cutting and AI, you don't know what the future holds. A lot of these streaming services are now losing money. I think everybody lost money allegedly, except for Netflix. So I don't know what the future holds. There's been so much product out there, and now it's slowed down. Like I said, it slowed down for COVID. It has slowed down again here with the strikes, and it's just going to get worse in the fall and the winter if these things don't get settled. I hope this will lead to a settlement. I hope the studios will smarten up and realize how important the actors and writers are, and it's that AI is kind of creepy and not the same. You need that human touch. I hope we see more video game adaptations. I know Ready Player One was which is a movie, not a TV show, but that was very good too. So I hope so. So I hope it gets settled, and I hope we see more adaptations. But it's a lot up in the air right now. Steckhouse tweets: why was the plug pulled on a classic like How to Make It in America? 2 seasons with Cleveland legend Kid Cudi, but the very mediocre Entourage ran for 8. I thought Entourage was great the first few years. I do think it went down the tubes after that. I can't speak to How to Make It in America because I never saw that show. I never even heard of it. Next question. In the modern era, which show is better, The Wire or Breaking Bad? Most lists have them 1 and 2. It's a tough question. I love both shows. If I had to choose between the two, I would go with The Wire over Breaking Bad. Oh, man. And as I say that, I'm like, no, can't. Now I'm second guessing myself. I like The Wire. If I had to choose, I would take The Wire. Like, The Wire's 100 and Breaking Bad's a 99.999999999. It's that close. I love them both, but if I had to, I would take The Wire. Corey Richmond, thoughts on Drew Barrymore and the talk coming back this week? Will this lead to more shows breaking away from the strike? I hope not. They shouldn't be doing. I don't know the details on that. So I don't know why she's breaking the strike. That's disappointing if it's the case. I don't know if there's something else to the story. I don't know enough about it. So there you go. All right, folks. Thanks, as always, for joining me. Thanks for your questions. Thanks to Michael for producing today. I'll be back in 1 month. We'll recap some of we'll talk sex education. We'll talk Loki season 2, and you never know what else is going to pop up between now and then. Plus more in the Walking Dead universe as well. Thanks to all of you again for joining me. I'll talk to you next time. Where else? Up next with Adam the Bull, part of Press Play Pods. See ya.